Hello everyone, Georgina here from John Barry Sales. We're very delighted to welcome Gabe all the way from Sound Devices. Welcome, Gabe.
Thank you, Georgina.
What have you brought today?
First I want to say that I'm really happy to be here. And I brought the Audio Limited A10 wireless system. Well, I didn't bring it, you guys brought it.
We have it,
but
yes.
We have it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And not only the A10 wireless system, but the A10 rack as well.
Okay, just to start, what's the relationship between Sound Devices and Audio Limited?
So, recently, Sound Devices purchased Audio Limited. And
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. And the A10 wireless is our first wireless system. We collaborated with them and made some tweaks, which resulted in the A10 wireless. And
can you run through some of those features?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest change that we did was the input on the microphone input of the transmitter. So traditionally, wireless microphone inputs are unbalanced, and they're designed to work with lapel microphones. And if you were to take a balanced microphone and connect it to an input, you would need to go from balanced to unbalanced. And what we've done is put a balanced microphone input that has phantom power, and it's not any balanced mic input. There's a Sound Devices mic pre in there.
So it should be an amazing level.
Well, if you think about it, Audio Limited has been in the market for many years, and they are renowned for having really high quality audio as a wireless.
Is that what drew Sound Devices too?
Well, absolutely. And Sound Devices are known for having fantastic sounding microphone preamps. So it was a perfect marriage, and it was a great idea on behalf of the wonderful engineers at Sound Devices to put a balanced microphone Sound Devices preamp in the A10 wireless. So our preamps with I like to call it their Juju, the proprietary codec that Audio Limited uses basically it's the digital codec that we use in the wireless. Both contribute to the sound quality of the A10 wireless. Okay,
awesome. Well, perhaps you could just walk us through the range and give us an indication of the features for this.
One of the things that I like to show off on the transmitter is the fact that you can phantom power a shotgun microphone. So you can take any type of external microphone, shotgun microphone, whether it's 12 volts or 48, and plug it directly into the transmitter with one of our cables. Now, a lot of the questions that I get is, can I just use any female XLR to 3-pin LEMO? And you can, but there's something that those cables will not have, which is RF filtering. And
which could result in noise then if you plug it in.
Exactly. Yep. And so what we recommend is to use one of our cables, because we put an RF filter into the XLR connector. And so that prevents from noise being induced into the audio.
Okay. And no problem if you then plug in a lavalier mic with the phantom powering?
And that's a great question, because traditionally if you unplug a shotgun mic when there's phantom on the transmitter and then you go in with a lapel, you blow lapel. And when the phantom's on the transmitter and you disconnect the shotgun, phantom turns off. And if you connect a lav, bias voltage turns on. Okay. And if you disconnect the lav and reconnect the shotgun microphone, you have to manually turn on phantom. So it's forcing you to deliberately go and turn on phantom, because you know what you're doing, basically.
So a good safeguard.
It's a great safeguard. And in a pinch, if you do not have an extra body pack and you have an extra wireless boom, just pull that transmitter out, unplug it, plug the lav in, and go. You don't have to worry about damaging anything.
No, that's excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps we can have a little physical look at what we've got here on the table.
So let's jump in the transmitter here. And there are 3 buttons, by the way. And the center button is your enter, your selection, and then the left and the right basically navigate the menu. So if I hit the center button, I can access all the menu options, and I'll scroll to the right here and go to audio setup. And I'll click on audio setup, and The first option is low cut, the second option is the limiter, which we'll talk about in a moment, and then the third option is lav, mic, or line level. In this case, I'll just go in and you see that I have 48 volts of phantom selected on this transmitter, but note there's nothing connected. I can do 12 volts, save a little bit of battery life, or I can go to line or mic. Now, I want to take my body pack. Georgina, if you can be so kind to hold this up. And if I go to my body pack, the one I'm using, notice that there's audio moving on the audio meter there. And if I go to that same menu section and I go to the lav mic line input, look, you have no option to turn on phantom.
And
so that's the safeguard.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we are on the topic of other audio features, let me jump out of here and then go to the limiter. One of the biggest concerns that anyone that's doing like a wireless boom can have is a talker that goes from a whisper to a scream. And the analog limiter that's built in is designed to protect you from any clipping. It's a very great sounding analog limiter that's on top of the analog preamp. And it's either on or off. You can't adjust the threshold, you can't adjust the knee, you can't adjust the ratio. It's predetermined, by us, but it sounds phenomenal. And if you set your gain structure properly and you just tickle it, hit it, talk loudly into the lav or talk loudly into the boom, sometimes you can't tell that it's there.
A lot of users and people who've tried out the audio limiter are saying that it sounds better. Do you think the limiter is perhaps one of the secrets to that? Because they say it's a noticeable difference.
I agree. And I think that I personally would not recommend using the system without the limiter. I would always leave the limiter on because if you don't want to hit the limiter, you can always turn your gain down and just run your system a little lower in gain. I personally like to drive preamps hard.
Okay.
But then again, I'm a musician, so I have like a completely different point of view when I'm talking about gain structure. But you can run the depending on the talker and the sound source, you can feel comfortable in setting the gain properly. Leave the limiter on, and you won't notice that the thing is on. It sounds great. The other feature that I want to show is the low cut. That's also a great feature to have to remove handling noise and wind noise. So you got those options there. And the other thing that I want to point out in terms of audio is the sampling rate. So being a digital system, there are different sampling rates that you can choose from. And Audio Limited opted for selecting 441. And 44.1 was the perfect sampling rate to balance a number of parameters. You go to 48 or higher sampling rate, and you run the risk of adding additional latency or occupying more bandwidth when the frequency carrier occupies more bandwidth compared to what it is now at 44.1. You run it too low, and then the sound quality isn't there. So the internal sampling rate of the system is 44.1. If you use the AES output, it's 44.1, which isn't an issue because the majority of the audio recorders have a sample rate converter.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's say you're using an AES shotgun microphone with a cable, and that's 48, and you're using a 44.1 audio limited system. On the recording, it's going to be 48 or 96 or whatever you want it to be. When you go to a wireless system, there are things that you have to consider that replaces a cable. Now, first, a cable can cost $20. You're replacing that with a system that costs thousands of dollars. You're doing it for the mobility, for the freedom of not being tied down to a cable. But then there are things that you need to consider: sound quality, the ability to use multiple wirelesses at the same time, RF robustness, or how robust or sturdy is the wireless system once it's being used, and battery life. And all of those things exists now in the world of analog wireless. So when you go to a digital wireless, there's one more component that you need to factor in, which is latency. And if none of those parameters are better than an analog system, there's no real need to go to an analog system. And I believe that Audio Limited did a fantastic job of hitting all those goals, getting good battery life, latency under 2 milliseconds, the RF robustness, and the high channel count density that's better than analog FM, and naturally the sound quality. That's the biggest thing.
What is the battery life? Because I do get asked that a lot in terms of...
It really depends on a various factors. It depends on the output power. It depends on the if you're using phantom or not, and it depends on the type of battery.
Does it have variable output on the Audio
Yes.
Limited? Yeah.
So the RF output power is 10, 20, and 50. There's no real need to use 10 milliwatts. If you're going outdoors, 50 milliwatts is the way to go. And if you're indoors and you're in a bag, you're 10 meters away from your talent, 20 milliwatts is
ample.
Is more than ample, and it also saves on battery.
Okay. Now with the transmitters, they can record and transmit simultaneously. That's correct?
Yes, and they can also serve as a recorder. You can turn off the transmission on it.
Can you show us where the card goes in?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I'm going to put this transmitter on its side, and that brown and red stripe is where the micro SD card enters. So you have to remove the batteries to insert or remove the micro SD. So that the card serves a couple of purposes: for recording and for updating the firmware of the transmitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Gabe, can you input timecode?
You can input timecode, and the timecode and the record menu are in the same place. So let me show you where that is. Once again, you go to the menu, you scroll to the right, and that record timecode menu is there. Once you enter, you have the record function, you have the file info, you have the transmit record mode. And to answer your question, in this mode, you'll see the transmitter record mode, and in this mode, it's record only.
Okay.
So if you are doing a reality show and you want to leave plant mics around, a lav, transmitter record mode, synced and timecode, recording just all over the place. It's a great way to get a single record.
So you can input timecode and do just time of day as well, just running code?
Actually, there's different timecode modes. So let me back out of here and go to the timecode mode here. So the timecode mode would be either external or time of day. And if you do time of day, then you would need to go to the system, and in the system menu you would put in set time of day.
So can it be used as a timecode generator?
It can. That's the very interesting part of it. You can absolutely use it as a timecode generator. So let me go back to the timecode menu, and let's go to the timecode menu here. So what I have here is 688 in the background, and I have a LEMO 3. And for the users that are familiar with the 688 and the 633, those devices use a LEMO 5. There we go. So what I have is a cable that we offer, which is LEMO 5 to LEMO 3. And that's the cable that you would use to insert timecode. So you can see the 688 screen tells you what the transmitter's timecode is, what the internal generator of the 688 is, and then the time difference.
So that's from the 688 to the transmitter?
Right. So if I want to sync the 688 to the transmitter, what I would do is I would come to the A10 transmitter, go over to the jam menu, and hit jam.
Why would you want to do it that way? Like why, I mean...
Well, when you hit jam on the transmitter, it's going to pull timecode from the 688.
Correct.
And now look at the screen of the 688. The difference is 0.
Right.
If you wanted to use this as your timecode generator, whether it's a 688 or a camera, you would hit jam on the receiving device.
Correct.
And it'll
Okay.
pull timecode off that.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's a great way to get timecode. And here's a very cool thing regarding timecode. I'm just gonna pull the battery out of here. I'm gonna put the battery back in. And you know what? There's no need to resync timecode. Because there's an internal battery that keeps timecode rolling, just like
inside the 688.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let me just do this real quick. So I disconnected the battery and reconnected the battery, and you can see that the timecode of the recorder and the timecode of the transmitter are completely in sync.
Hasn't missed a beat, and that's because of the internal timecode battery.
There's an internal battery that keeps timecode running for hours on end. It runs actually longer than the timecode battery in the 688.
It's fantastic.
So no need to resync.